Welcome to the show, Samantha. I'm so happy to have you on Broche Banter today.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
Samantha is one of the dancers in our community, also a mom of two, been dancing for a few years, and also a very, very loving and dedicated cat mom as well, with many, many sweet cats in your fold and in your house. And Samantha, we've got Samantha on the show today to ask me a bunch of questions. We were chatting and she had a lot of questions for me to submit on the podcast. And so we said, why don't you just come on and let's talk a little bit? We'll talk and answer a bunch of questions. So Samantha is here today to ask me basically an AMA, ask me anything. So take it away, Samantha. Thanks so much for being here.
Well, I'm a huge fan of the podcast and I love listening to it, especially in the car. And I'm really inspired by all the dancers' journeys. So it made me curious to learn more about your journey in ballet, specifically your ballet training, because I think you're such a wonderful dancer and an amazing teacher. And I look up to you so much and I'm so inspired by you. And I just want to see what your path was like. And then maybe you'll help dancers like me and others in the community work through our paths a little bit better. Because I know our journeys can be a little bit of a roller coaster.
Yeah, they're very winding. Every path is so unique.
I've read and also heard that ballet is a balance of strength and flexibility. So I was wondering how your strength and flexibility journey has been. 'Cause I think that's a lot of the feedback you get. It's like, you need more flexibility, or you need more strength. And if you boil it down to two things sometimes.
They're both so difficult to get, right? You've got a couple of different types of strength and flexibility, like a general strength, general flexibility that regular humans would have. And then you also have dance specific strength and dance specific flexibility, like when your legs are turned out, right? So you've got two types. Obviously, they help each other and everything. But like starting from strength, I started off as a very like weak and inflexible child. I had like no strength or flexibility. Like my earliest memory of trying to be more flexible was in middle school, which I know actually I think people across overseas don't say middle school. So I was probably like 12, let's say I was probably 12 years old. And we had to pass the presidential fitness exam. I'm not sure if the kids are still doing the presidential fitness exam. Did you have to do it, Samantha?
I don't remember this at all. I don't think
Oh,
I would have passed them.
no, I didn't pass. It was like the presidential fitness test or something that we all had to pass. And one of the things in it was the sit and reach test, where you sit and you reach and you try to reach past your toes, and they would measure like how far past your toes you got. And I got like a negative score. Like I couldn't even touch my toes. So I got like a negative score behind my toes. And it was like so embarrassing because it wasn't like anybody told us about flexibility. It was just like either you had it or you didn't. Like one day they just decided to measure our flexibility. It wasn't like we were stretching or anything. So at that point, I just sort of assumed that I wasn't a flexible person because other people seemed to be able to do it. And then I just couldn't. So I just figured like I was not like a flexible person. So that was like the earliest memory I have of trying to be flexible. Trying to have strength. We had a similar thing where we had to just do a push up and a pull up, and I couldn't do either of them. And other people seemed to be able to do them. So I was like, I guess I also am very weak. Like I can't do these different activities. And I found both of those to be so odd because it wasn't like we were training for any of these things or that there was like any information about how to have done these things. They just decided to measure and either you passed or you failed. And of course, like I couldn't do that. I couldn't run a mile. I couldn't like do any of the things. But I was like I just couldn't do any of it. So I kind of grew up with that identity that I was not very strong and not very flexible. And then when I started ballet, I started from there. Like, because, I've mentioned on my story podcast that I started ballet because I thought it would be super hard. And it was super, super hard. Like it was super hard, not only strength wise and flexibility wise and all of that. But just because ballet is a lot to remember and everything. So over time, I learned about flexibility. I did learn about flexibility probably in my very early, late teens and early 20s. I learned about flexibility, and I learned that for like that I learned like actually how to stretch. Like when I was a kid and you just had to sit and reach and touch your toes, it was just so painful. It just hurt. Like it was just so painful. And I had no words to describe the type of pain or like if it was dangerous or if it was not dangerous. I had no clue. So what really changed my flexibility journey was learning and understanding like what types of sensations were dangerous and which types of sensations were not dangerous. So just pain and just pain is not necessarily dangerous. Like it could be dangerous, but it also could just be uncomfortable, right? Like that learning where that line was really the beginning of my change in my flexibility journey, that it was like you're meant to be in an amount of pain. Now I would call it discomfort, but at the time it was just like, ouch, I don't like this. But over time I started to learn it was called discomfort. And then was able to be in that position. And then I learned about how important the breath is for that, where you can breathe more deeply in order to be uncomfortable for longer. So those two things connected was how I started to finally get more flexible and, get my splits and touch my toes and be able to get my leg higher and all of that stuff. That was a big, those two learnings. Number one, is this painful? Is this painful because I'm in danger, or is this painful because my body's just growing? That being able to answer that question successfully was a huge thing. And then number two, like if it is not dangerous, but it is uncomfortable, how do you stay for longer? And then that there is where your breath comes in and your breathing and just like learning to be calm in that state of physical discomfort. So those two things were huge. And then then you start to enjoy stretching because you can see the feeling of it and you can feel what the discomfort is, and it's not so scary and it's not so just like generally painful. You have a more like specific awareness of it. And in strength, that was always tough too. Also, like I said, I grew up with like very little physical education about what my body was supposed to feel like, right? So I figured that being out of breath was dangerous. Like my legs were burning. It felt like I should stop. Like I didn't know how to push through these feelings of discomfort. And I didn't know even what I was feeling. I was just, my legs hurt. Like, what is this? Like my arms hurt. What is this? I didn't understand what the feeling was. Like my legs are burning. It was painful. I didn't understand what these sensations were. So I did work with a powerlifting coach for about a year and a half. And, we ended up lifting, a couple 100 pounds, like off the ground, like with squats and with deadlifts and all of that. And that was kind of when I learned about like getting stronger. I mean, obviously I had learned about it through ballet, and, you do get stronger through ballet, but really when it came to like how to push myself physically through those very painful sensations of burning muscles and like fatigue and everything, it wasn't until that experience that I really learned what it meant to do the work of getting stronger. Like he taught me what it meant to work and how to actually push through all of that feeling. And then, identify it. Can I push through this, or do I need to stop? You have to be able to answer that question first before you can push anything, because then you'll just hurt yourself if you can't actually answer that question. So answering that question and then learning how to push when you are uncomfortable and it's not dangerous, then how to keep pushing. Like I had, those were the foundational lessons that I was personally missing in my strength and flexibility journey.
So it sounds like it was a lot of your mindset that helped you unlock your strength and your flexibility.
Totally.
So
Yeah.
how did you, like, what advice would you give to us dancers in the community to be able to, if we're having problems with our strength or our flexibility, be able to get past those things? Like, what should we be thinking or training our brain to do so that way our body can follow?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think if you're like at the beginning, like if someone is listening, or maybe you or anyone else listening resonates with this feeling of just like, ouch, it hurts. Like, I don't know, like if you're in this general phrase of like, it hurts, or it feels scary, or it feels dangerous, or I think I need to stop, or whatever. The first thing to do, I always suggest, is to describe, just get more specific. How specific can you be? What does the pain feel like? Where is it? Could you touch it? Is it a string of pain? Is it a dot of pain? Is it a swath of pain? Is it hot? Is it a ball? Is it like a guitar string? Like what does like if you're writing a poem about the pain, basically, like what are the words you can use to describe the pain? Because if you can't describe the pain, then you're not going to be able to actually push through it or work through it or breathe into it, because you don't know what you're feeling and you don't know if it's okay to feel that or not. So you have to be able to describe the pain. You have to be able to tell somebody what it feels like, where it is. Yeah, like, can you touch it? Can you put your finger on it? Can you squeeze it? Can you flex it on command? Like, where is the spot that you personally feel the pain, and what does it feel like? And then with the once you kind of have that ability to describe it, I think so much of improving your flexibility and your strength is like allowing yourself to sit there and be uncomfortable for a period of time. Like, can you hold up? Like, let's say you've identified that this is not dangerous, it just hurts, or like it's not dangerous, it's just uncomfortable. Then it's like, can you take one more breath in that position before you give up? Can you take one more? Maybe just one, maybe just half a breath. Maybe you can inhale, then you have to let go. But like, can you just take one more breath before you let out of it? One more, two more breaths. Or you're just trying to inch your way further and further. And these journeys really are inch by inch, breath by breath. One more breath, one more rep, one more for good luck is always what my trainer used to say. One more for good luck. So always that mindset, I think, is like not all or nothing. I'm not saying slam into your splits and then describe that you feel like your legs ripped. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about inching step by step and trying to describe how the sensations change. You have to really focus in, go in. I think a lot of people tune out. They watch TV while they stretch, or they just do something else just so they don't have to feel the pain. But no, opposite. You have to go inward and look at the pain.
Mhm.
What does it look like? What does it feel like? Where it is, and get really attuned to it. Otherwise, you can't do. You're stuck. You don't know what you don't even know what you're working with.
So it takes that type of mental focus in order to get it.
Yeah. Yeah.
How how often and like how long did it take you to get to a good where you felt like you were where you want to be in your strength and where you want to be in your flexibility? Because I've been working on my flexibility. I, like you, was not trained in any of this as a child, so I was inflexible. Didn't really know I was strong until I was an adult and started doing like strength training. I was like, oh, I could do this, but it
Yeah.
takes years
Yeah.
to build strength, and same thing with flexibility. How long did it take you to like get to the place where you feel like I feel good in my strength, I feel good in my flexibility? Because maybe some listeners are like, how long does it take to get the splits? I'm a listener that's probably is curious about that, but I know it depends on everybody. But for your journey, what did it look like?
Well, I'm still not happy with where I am flexibility or strength wise. I think that's a forever journey, and I can always be more strong and more flexible and take more time to work on those things. I think as dancers, we always want more. I think that's one of the things that draws us to ballet is that there's always more to look for. There's always more to have. There's always more to want. But I think where I settled down and stopped having a sense of urgency around getting more strong and more flexible. I think with flexibility, it came a little sooner than stretching just because I started working on it a bit sooner than I did the strength portion. Like the strength portion felt way more inaccessible to me than the flexibility portion. So I started working on that first. I think for me, it took, I don't think I've ever calculated how long it took me to get my splits. But I think it was probably a couple of years. Went from when I started dance to when I got my splits. I think I got it in my early 20s. But when I don't stretch, they're gone. Like right now, I don't have my splits. Like I don't work on them regularly. And so therefore right now, like I probably 3 or 4 inches from the floor on both sides because they take a lot of work to keep up. So it's like I get the splits and it's exciting. And then, don't stretch at that deep level. Don't keep it up. And then I don't have it. I don't have it at the moment. I imagine right now, if I decided that I wanted the splits again, it would probably take me 3 to 4 months of regular stretching to get the splits again once I already had gotten them. If someone is starting from really high up, like many feet up, like really high up off the ground, getting their splits, it's a difficult place to be starting from because it's hard to hold for long enough to see progress. Like it's a lot of work on your upper body to hold yourself up in the splits when you're far away from the ground. It is easier to stretch for the splits when you get closer. The beginning is so hard. You have to work so hard on your upper body to hold yourself up. And so for people really far from their splits, I recommend get all the couch cushions in your entire house, get all of the pillows in your entire house and make a stack of pillows so that you can put your hips on the stack of pillows and sit in your splits. Even if you're basically sitting with your legs like at a very, very large point, you need to be able to relax in your stretches. You can't be there like trying to hold your stretch. Like you cannot, it's going to take you like a while to relax into your stretch in order enough to like I said, observe your muscles, feel your breath, like let your body calm down. And if you're not calm when you stretch, you're not making any progress. So I think it takes a while for someone to learn how to calm down. And then once you learn how to calm down, it's a bit more exponential from there. Like you'll get a little bit further, a little bit faster. But the beginning, before you feel calm when you stretch, if you still feel like you're in a panic, then you're gonna be stuck there for a while until you figure out a way to get your chest to relax, to breathe, to get your face to relax, like to actually feel calm when you're in that position.
That's very challenging. I definitely think for some of us dancers, like our minds are always going, which is why ballet is calming.
Yeah.
And when you're just sitting, it's going to be that. That's really interesting, though. It's like in order to get what you want that you're so focused on, you have to relax.
Yeah, you have to relax. You can't be like, oh, I will get my split flat. Because in that sense, then you're so tight. You're so tight. You're actively tightening your muscles. There's another tactic that I love. It's a tactic that's often in like martial arts where you're stretching, and what you do is on purpose clench everything you can imagine. So let's say you're in a hamstring stretch, you on purpose clench everything. You squeeze your breath, you squeeze your shoulders, you push your toes in the ground, you make fists, and then you relax everything, and it can kind of help you go from two extremes. Sometimes you don't even realize you're holding so much tension, but if you actively put more tension into your body and then release it, sometimes more of your tension will go away at the same time.
It sounds like the opposite of strength because you tense to do things, then relax. And yeah, it's, do you do any other things outside of ballet, like to help with your ballet training?
I do a lot of walking. I do a lot of walking. We walk our dogs a lot, like maybe 40 minutes to an hour every day. And then we go up and down the stairs, like 4 flights, run with them as much as possible. So that obviously helps. Like walking is so good for your feet. It's so good for your hips. It's so good for your back. And it's always a chance to practice your posture because it's nice to walk with good posture. And then when I'm in a mood where I have extra time and I'm working on other things, then yoga is usually my go-to because you get a good upper body and a good lower body. But right now I mostly just do my classes with you guys and my own ballet training for a couple hours a week. I try not to do too much outside of class so that I can understand what my classes are giving you and what they're not giving you. Because if my body is feeling tight, then I know that my training split for you guys is not correct. I'm not offering enough of something or another. So I try not to do too much on my own outside of it. I mean, I did obviously when I went to perform Swan Lake because I needed my body in a specific condition, but I try really hard to, yeah. I mean, I try to just see if my classes are doing what they need to do for you guys.
That's really thoughtful of you. Like, and I know we all appreciate it. So thank you.
Yeah, I mean,
So you talk
it's
about,
yeah, it's important to just make sure that everything is getting hit, right? If I don't have enough core strength, you guys don't either, right? Unless you're making time for other things. So that's kind of where I'm at.
so you talk about your training that you do like outside of the classes you teach all of us. So what does that look like? And then also, what has your technique journey been like? Like, did you start off with adult drop-in classes? Like, I know you've
Mhm.
touched about on this. Like, what was like the method that you started on? Where did you like kind of you pieced your training together? But how did like you get to the technique you want? If people haven't heard the story before.
Yeah. So I started in open classes like many of you guys. I started in classes that were just, whoever came, the teacher would teach to whoever came, right? Like that type of environment. And I'm very grateful that I grew up in music because in studying music, it was very always hammered that you need to practice that by yourself and you should have a teacher who is teaching you technique. Maybe it's private lessons or maybe you have a band teacher who teaches you technique, but it was always hammered into us from a very young age that you should be practicing on your own more than you're in your group setting and that you should be having that you should be working on like quote unquote boring technique stuff. In the case of music, that's just holding notes for a long period of time and like working on like very repetitive little things. But oddly, ballet doesn't seem to have that same culture. I think it should, and I hope I will be part of giving that like visibility to people that that's actually how people are getting good is they're practicing by themselves and they're working on their technique, like they're working on these little details. I'm glad that I kind of knew about that because it wasn't really talked about in my classes that you should be practicing at home or that you should be practicing just standing still or that you should be practicing all the things that are really about like how you get your technique. So early on in my ballet journey, I sought out a private teacher, Beth, who is, as I've mentioned in part of my story, how she's the one who got me my start in teaching. And she would work with me on technique. And really, most of technique is just standing still. Like it is hard to believe, but basically, the technique deep dive classes that I teach are how I've gotten my technique. Like I teach that class is literally how I got my technique. So if it were up to me and I had only one class on the schedule, it would be that one. That's how I got where I am today, is that type of work. Just standing with two hands on the bar, trying to hold your posture. You do a tendu in one direction and you fix every joint and you fix every vertebra and you check every muscle and you check your posture and you check how you're holding the bar. And then you flex your foot and you do it again. And then you point and close and then you do it again. And you go with nothing to memorize, no combinations to distract you, just 100% you and your body and your muscle activation. So that style of practice is basically how I got my technique. Now I've had private teachers throughout the years who've helped me like give me a separate set of eyes of things that I'm meant to be working on and how my body is working and everything. And but that style of training is where the majority of the technical ability comes from. Um, my training now, I work with a fabulous teacher, Katya. We train over Zoom. We actually started on WhatsApp, if you can believe it. We actually started just meeting on WhatsApp during COVID. She found me on Instagram. I was posting on, like, we have a shared connection. We were posting on each other's pages, and she found me and she reached out and she's like, "Hey, I'd love to work with you." And I was like, "Oh, yeah. I mean, I always love more, I was looking for more knowledge and working with new teachers. And yeah, now it's been like 5 years. So we work together every week for a couple of hours and we work, I mean, in a couple of hours, we'll get through only bar and maybe two center combos. Like that's how slowly we go and work on every single detail. Like it's time for fondue. We'll spend 20 minutes there, like working on every single detail of where the foot goes, where the knees go, where the hips go, like every, once you tombe, how everything gets shaped and how the spine works. And the majority of it is like how you stand. I know it's really hard to believe, but the majority of it is how your pelvis, where your pelvis is in relation to your shoulders.
No,
That's
I believe it.
that's it.
I believe that. Because you change one little thing and then everything else kind of dominoes.
Yeah,
And you have to fix it
exactly.
all back. I completely understand.
Right. And a
Um,
lot of times people will be like, "Oh, I'm just overthinking it." And it's like, "No, you're not. This literally is a lot to think about."
there's so much to think about.
Yeah,
Like your ears, your shoulders, your everything, even like your wrist, your each finger, it's everything. And then
everything.
all of it has to work together.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think why I suggest and why I love the deep dive classes and the port de bras classes and the pre-point classes and the things that are no combo, like combo-less, right? Like no combo. Just basically meditative movements is like if your goal is technique, if you're thinking about what step comes next, then you're wasting brain space and you're not thinking about technique, right? So either you have to cut out the combos or make them so simple that you can think about your technique, or practice by yourself slowly or whatever. But it's like somehow you need 100% of your brain available to think about your technique, because that's how much brain power it takes to get your whole body to work in a new way. So that's why I say practice. That's what I believe is the benefit of practicing alone, whether or not it's like with that format that's comboless, but it needs to be in a space where you have ability to think about how your body's moving.
I find the same thing happens with me. It's like when you have a combo, you're focused on like just keeping up with the music and the combo, and you're not always thinking about turnout, make sure your foot is winged. Make it it is a lot.
Yeah, it's a lot. And I mean, not to say there's anything wrong with combos, like that's another aspect of ballet, right? But since we're talking about technique, like that aspect, set it on the shelf and then come back to it when you want to work on the choreography aspect of ballet.
So when you started in your ballet journey, how often were you training in this way in order to get where you wanted to be? Because you said you're doing it about a couple hours now.
Yeah.
When you first started, about how much time did you dedicate to
Um,
private practice?
yeah, that's a good question. I mean, like everybody else, my early days were all over the place. Like I had a changing schedule. I was in college, so every semester I had a different schedule and I had, a couple of different jobs. And so I was always like in and out how much time I could get and how much extra money I had. But through the periods when I saw the most progress and the times when I saw the most progress was when I had two private lessons a week for about 6 months when I was in college. I had a period where I was like getting ready for an intensive and did like really a lot of private lessons. And that was huge because I was also then practicing at home like every day in between for, 20, 30, 40 minutes. And then taking video, watching myself back, doing it again, seeing if I fixed the problem, watching the video back, doing it again, seeing if I fixed the problem, watching the video back, do it again, like over and over and over again. And then go to the teacher in a couple of more days and be like, did I fix it? No. Okay, let's go back and try it again. So that period of time was very intense when I figured a lot out. And then now, to be honest, since the last 5 years of doing my Zoom program, it's been great. This combination of working with my teacher a couple hours a week, and then, like I said, I'm practicing with you guys, right? This class schedule is my own practice time too. So I practice with you guys a deep dive once a week, a port de bras class twice a week, a technique bar once a week, and 6 to 8 bars a week too. So that period of time now is a time when I've been enjoying great progress just from all of the focused effort and practice on
And
everything.
you definitely put together a very well-rounded week and calendar.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like if there's something for everybody, and if you want a well-rounded thing, you can just take all the classes. So what would you recommend for listeners who want to improve their technique? I know it varies based off their time commitment, and all of those things, but what would be like the baseline you would suggest?
I don't think it takes long to work on your technique. It's the fastest thing to work on, in my opinion, because you don't need combinations and you don't need to memorize anything and you don't need to do anything like that. It is the fastest. That's why my technique classes are only 15 minutes for the arms and 25 minutes for the legs. It really doesn't take long to, as far as going through things. Like it takes a while to go through a full bar because you've got all these exercises and you've got to memorize a combo and do it on both sides and blah, blah, blah. It's a lot. But if you're working on your technique, you should be doing standing still, literally. I'm like literally standing still in first, in second, in fifth, on one leg, in tendu front, tendu side, tendu back, every coup d'epied, retiré, all your basic five positions, front, side, back, coup d'epied, retiré. Those positions you should be standing still in, and then moving between each of those. So from front to side, from side to coup d'epied, from front to coup d'epied, from back to coup d'epied, like basically those five foundational building blocks, each of them, and then moving between each of them. That's basically what your technique that's basically what your technique consists of, is all those five basic positions and then moving between each of them. That can be done. No music, any music, pop music, doesn't matter. It can be done with my voice in your ear. It can be done at any point, but those movements, trying to remember, then you're thinking about, try to remember everything you know about that position. And I'm sure you know a lot. Maybe your teacher has said something about your head. Maybe your teacher has said something about how the neck should work. Maybe your teacher has said something about how the shoulders should work. Maybe they've said how your lower belly should work, how your pelvic floor should feel, how your hips should feel. And you try to remember as much as you can during each of those positions and each of those movements. And then same thing with your arms. Now that was all legs. Then you go with the arms. Doesn't matter what your legs are doing. You can sit in a chair and you got your basic positions, your excuse if you're not in this same method, but you've got your low fifth, your first, your high fifth, your second, and your arabesques. You've got those basic poses and you hold each of them and you shape the elbows and you shape the wrist and you try to move each of those individual joints step by step and shape each of those joints in each of those positions. So those are the building blocks of your technique, is trying to get each of those positions to look just right and to feel just right in your body.
And I think that's so refreshing to hear, because I remember when I first started out, it was like all this is open classes. You do everything. So if you want to get better at your pirouettes, you get 10 minutes on pirouettes maybe, and it's not broken down. So it's just nice to know that you can do it in 15 minutes, but pick something to focus on and you'll get better. You don't
That's
need
right.
the hour and a half drop-in class. And then imagine that's 15 minutes, an hour and 15-minute class. So 15 minutes, you could make a lot of progress.
So much. Yeah,
like
so much.
Class, yeah.
Yeah, and I think that for adults, I think that oftentimes the 90-minute open class is like the gold standard of what you should be doing, what you should be working on. But like you said, it can be a little frustrating because if you want to get better at something, there's not so much time in 90 minutes. You can't focus on everything in 90 minutes. As a teacher, we always struggle with wishing we could fit more into the 90 minutes. It's so hard to be a teacher and be like trying to give a group of 20 different people a random selection of things in 90 minutes that'll make all of them happy, because there's so much to do, right? So it's tough. It's a tough situation. So if you want something specific, focus on it. And it only takes, like I said, 15 to 25 minutes of that one particular topic. It's just when you have 5 topics or 10 topics, then obviously the time starts adding up. But like in this particular case, if you want better technique, if you want better turnout, if you want better feet, if you want better arms, just do that one thing and it'll literally take you 15 to 20 minutes to run through that one specific thing. And then you can do that every day or 4 or 5 times a week and then really see meaningful progress.
It's really it's awesome to hear. So thinking about like technique, how did that translate to your journey in artistry? Because artistry, at least for me and how I've been feeling in my body, it just feels like a whole nother beast aside from like technique, because you have to apply your technique, but then also give more while also like, and I love the musicality of things, but it's just like it's not the same, if that makes any sense.
Oh yeah, it's a totally different thing. Yeah. It's funny, Samantha, because when in the beginning, like this might sound funny coming from me because now we have so much focus on artistry together. But in the beginning, I was so anti-artistry. I could not be more anti-artistry. Like if a teacher just gave a port de bras combination, I was like, frustrated because I was obsessed with my hips and my feet and I really wanted long leg lines and I wanted turnout and I wanted to get better. And so I would get frustrated if we were working on musicality or artistry or port de bras or something, which is, a big reason why I separate my classes. Because if you don't want to work on that, it's annoying to sit there and just do an arms combination when you really want your legs to be warmer and to get stronger and everything. In the beginning, I was really solely focused on technique and I did not care at all or see ballet as a mode of expression. When I first began, it was really not about expression at all for me. It was really about a fascination with technique and about a fascination of how your body works and how you get it to turn out and how you land a pirouette and how you get your petit allegro faster and how you get your split leaps. And I was like obsessed with the physicality of ballet. In parallel, I have always had a very, very deep love of music. Always loved music since I was very young. My parents say I was rocking out of my car seat, like grooving to music. Like I've always, always loved music, and studied music quite intensely as a kid, and always listened to music and just like love music. And when I was kind of at a place where I was more satisfied with my technique and some of the Broche dancers were pushing me to add more things to express on the calendar, really then I kind of opened up into it with you guys. You guys almost like kind of were a part of watching and being how I let some of that come into play. We did experiment with a little bit of in college where I had some choreography classes and some modern classes and things, and then you can kind of feel it. But how to specifically express within classical ballet has kind of developed with you guys watching me over the past 5 years. Like if you go back to the beginning artistry classes, it's like a different dancer that you're looking at. That really has evolved in the later years, where now it's actually kind of fun. It's actually kind of fun to look back and watch it, where now like the music is the catalyst. Like they're connected for me finally after all this time. Now it's been 15, 17 years since I've been doing ballet. So now it's like the music is the base of the artistry. So yes, your legs are there and your technique is there and your posture is there, but the music and the sounds that you're hearing, the feelings that it creates, the emotions that it creates is what moves your body and what causes your breath and what creates the different movement and the intention of all of it. But I will say it's a very different thing. Like when I'm working on technique, I don't feel a connection with the music at all. I'm not even here. I'm not even listening to the music. It's like it's background noise. You can't hear it. You're busy thinking technical thoughts. And when I'm doing artistry, I'm only just trusting that my technique is the level that it is currently, and I'll work on it again in technique class. And it's not relevant at all in the context of artistry. Yeah, my foot, like sometimes I'll watch my artistry classes back and I'm editing or whatever, and it's like, yeah, my technique's not as good in artistry class, but it's not what that class is for, and it's not what I'm thinking about it. It's not what anybody cares about in that context or in that class. And the better your technique gets, the more it carries over to artistry. You get your technique better in technique class, it levels up in artistry, and it's like it's always chasing each other. But your technique, when you're 100% focused on it, will always be better than your technique when you're not focused on it. And that's just like a fact of life to accept that will allow your artistry to start to blossom. Because as soon as you start micromanaging your body, your face and your artistry is gone, dead, shriveled up. Like you're lost. The audience has lost you because you just went internally and you lost the audience, right? So it takes that deep level of trust that it's okay if you make some mistakes and that the artistry is at the forefront of it. But it's a totally different mode. Like it's a completely different mode to be in artistry mode versus in technique mode.
I like the way you said that because it helps, at least it helps me, and I think it'll help some of our listeners, that you can just focus on one thing. You don't have to do it all at once. It's not like an all or nothing thing. You just pick whatever you want to do that day, and that's your focus. And it's okay if like your turnout is lost a little bit because you're focusing on artistry, and it's okay if like that happens because that's how you improve something.
Exactly. I love this analogy. I was talking to one of my friends, and she's an entrepreneur and a mom, and she was telling, I was like, how do you balance it all? And she's like, I don't. What makes you think I can balance all of this? Right. But how she thinks about it is that she's like juggling and just accepting the fact that you're going to drop some balls, and you just hope that you drop the ones that are made of rubber. And sometimes you drop one made of glass and you just sweep it up and carry on with your day. Like you just do your best, but like it's just like accepting that you're going to drop some balls and like you're doing your best to juggle the other ones, and just be okay with that some things are going to get dropped.
Especially like for perfectionists, because a lot of people that come to ballet may be perfectionists. That's really nice to hear.
Yeah.
So thinking about that, what are your present ballet goals? You've come so far. What are you working towards next?
I am currently obsessed with my wrists and my fingers. This is my next big area where I'm working on, specifically because I've been working my former, which is still, I mean, your goals don't really go away, but you kind of level them up to a place where you're satisfied enough where you can work on other projects before you come back around to that thing, right? But my former biggest goal was working on getting my toes more pointed, more stretched, more powerful, more quick, like really focusing on my feet and my toes. And then when you focus on your feet and your toes, your wrists and your fingers do weird stuff. So now my wrists and my fingers are looking weird. So I'm currently like trying to rebalance those out where I can have really strong pointed feet, but soft and beautiful wrists and fingers and not having that tension in there. So that's like one of my big current goals. And then my upper back has been like getting more rounded and hunched. I've been working a ton lately and I just haven't been keeping up with my upper back. So I've been working on stretching it and opening it and getting my head lifted again because I've been so like in computer mode. I've been so in computer mode and I can feel it and I can see that it's affecting my posture. So I've been circling back around to rework on my posture, especially my upper back, and my head position is getting that like stacked back up again.
So that's the Wednesday technique bars.
Yeah. Like I said, I give you guys what I need to.
And we appreciate that. Um, so I guess because you have so many goals and you circle back to them, and sometimes maybe do you ever feel like you've lost a goal and you need to get it back?
Yes, I definitely do. For a little while, I had lost my pirouettes. I had lost my doubles and my triples. I had lost them. I just wasn't practicing them. And when I moved to Miami, I had like vertigo for like 6, 8 months. I like couldn't do any turns or anything. It was so weird. I don't know if it was a pressure change moving from Denver to Miami. Like it was a pressure change, but I really like it was a bizarre situation. And after that, I never really like tried to get my turns back. And then after a while, I was kind of like, well, these are like I want this back. Like I want these doubles to come back, right? Like I want these back. So now I'm happy. I'm happy I can pretty much do them again on command. But it's been about 6 or 8 months of like trying to get that back and getting my balance, my equilibrium like back sorted out and doing closed eyes balancing stuff and various things. Of course, you guys do it all with me in my proprioception classes. But getting all of that back has been a bit of a slow journey just because like balance, sometimes your inner ear, it takes a while for it to rebalance, and the weather changes it. Like when it's more humid or less humid, I have more or less balance than other days. So that's been a bit of a journey getting that back. But once you've had it, you kind of know you can get it again. So it's not so, I don't know if scary is the word, but sometimes when you haven't gotten a goal yet, it can feel kind of like urgent or high risk that you're not going to be able to achieve it. So I feel like getting it back the second time is a little bit easier because you kind of already know you can do it. It's just a matter of putting in the work to do it. And I guess I would say I have heard some people say it's harder the second time around to get something because they have a deep feeling of loss, that they like lost something and feel bad that they lost it. And then that feeling of like, I was younger then, so I can't do it again now, or like whatever happened. I do think that can happen, especially if we're talking about people who got really good as teenagers and are coming back in adulthood. This is not quite the same experience that you guys might have. I think this is more unique to people who are their strongest now as adults versus like kids. Like anyways, I think that's a little caveat. If anyone's listening who got really good as a teenager, you probably don't resonate with what I said there. It may actually be the exact opposite for you.
So you mentioned like for people first going for something, like the second time around is a little bit easier on your mind, it sounds like, and your body. How, in that sense of urgency, how do you work through that feeling of urgency? Like, does any feelings of like self-doubt creep in? Like, how do you remain resilient and remain like more positive that you will be able to get there? And like, what kind of self-talk do you give yourself?
I mean, it is certainly super tough. But those feelings of urgency are super tough because they are usually the reason why you can't make any progress because you will be so single-minded and like so obsessed with it that you won't be open to new ways of going about it. You won't be open to new ideas or open to trying new things because you're just like, I have to get there and this is the way and this is the path and I have to work on it like this and I have to do it in this way. So I think that those feelings can be really tough. I think the only reason why, or like the biggest reason why I've let it go or like been able to let it go more is just in watching when I started yoga. This weird thing that happened where I did not care about yoga at all and yet got pretty flexible in a very short period of time doing it. And I was just like, okay, so caring is not related to progress. Like putting in the work is the variable here. Like the amount, like how tightly you're holding on to the end goal apparently is like not relevant. And in fact, in my opinion, improved faster than anything else I had tried. And perhaps just because I didn't care so much and I just tried stuff and I just hit play on random, yoga classes and didn't worry so much about it and breathed and relaxed and just had a good time. And so then you look at yourself and you say, okay, why did that work? Because according to my estimation, if I wasn't pushing and planning and scheduling and like micromanaging, it shouldn't have been successful. But I had no plan and no schedule. And I did it, I did yoga like 5, 6, 7 days a week, but just for fun and whatever I felt like. And if I was tired, I did a shavasana for 10 minutes and I laid on the floor for 10 minutes. And if I felt energetic, I did a power yoga, and I just like literally flowed with my energy, and it worked. And so then I looked at myself and I said, okay, things can work if you're not obsessed about micromanaging every detail. And that was kind of the shift of the mindset where you think, okay, so you can be successful if you just put in the work and stay curious and stay open. And there's other things than having to plan it out from beginning to end, because you really can't do that. And that's never actually worked out for me, as having a plan from beginning to end. So yeah, I just remind myself when I feel that I'm stuck in that place, I'm like, you are probably getting yourself into a loop where you're getting closed, and you need to be more open and more curious and more playful and follow your energy and follow where things are going, and like keep showing up. I'm not saying do it, don't do it. Like if you don't do it, it's not going to get anywhere. But if you're showing up and you're allowing it to flow, like I've found that it works better, which is annoying because as a perfectionist, I would prefer to just have my plan work. I don't like it.
I feel you on that one. I totally feel you on that one. It's always like the opposite of what you think. And I struggle with yoga too, because you have to relax and you have to just let it flow. And I'm like, I need control. I need to like, let's move it. We're going so slow.
Yeah.
So it's really nice to hear that like it all works out in the end. It may not be your plan. We don't know whose plan it is, but it does work out in the end.
Yeah, I don't like it. I don't like that I don't like that that's how it seems to be panning out, for the record. But that is the evidence that I have in my past, is that the things that I cared less about, I progressed faster in. And so how can you take the things that you really, really, really care about and take the qualities and marry that with the qualities you had when you were less worried about achieving it?
Like you learned all those things from yoga and like what you brought to your ballet, but what brings you coming back to ballet? Why do you come back to ballet? Like, why is ballet your thing? I've always wondered your why, and I'm so excited to learn it.
I've always wondered my why too. Honestly, it is such a funny thing about ballet because, like I said, when I started ballet, I really didn't know anything about ballet. I like came into it rather blind. And, I wrote a letter to my ballet when I wrote to my private teacher, Beth. I wrote to her like, I've never found anything that I was this passionate about, and I hope it can be my career. I'll settle if it's a hobby, but I hope it can take it as far as I can. And that's what I said to her when I was 18, right? And why? Because in my life until then, I didn't know anything about what I wanted to do with my life. It was like, I thought I would be like a SeaWorld trainer, or maybe I would be like a physicist, or maybe I would be like I don't know, an economist, or I don't know. I just like, I liked anything. I mean, I liked everything. I had so many different interests and so many different things I was curious about. I loved math. I loved tutoring. I liked playing store with my dolls, and I liked, like I was sewing, and I was just curious. So then to find something like ballet that just like randomly took hold. Why? I have no idea. I have no idea why it had took hold and why it stayed throughout all this time. I don't know. It must be, there must be, like we said, someone's got a plan and I'm not privy to it. It's just got a hold. It's just got a hold on me. I don't know. Very strange.
And it's stuck with you for 17 years now.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes.
So whenever you have
Yes.
those days you're struggling with like confidence, or you're just not feeling your greatest with yourself, it just is like a feeling you're like, this is what I'm supposed to do. Is that what keeps you going?
Yeah. Yes. I think it is what keeps me going on those days. Like sometimes you're just like nothing is working, like your body's not working for you. You're tired, you're frustrated. There's those days where you're just like, I'm not cut out for this. I can't do this. Like I need to stop. But then the other voice is like, I mean, are you maybe overreacting a little bit? Are you maybe like, are you sure this is factual? Like maybe you could just try again for one more day, right? Maybe you could just keep trying for another day, right? And then you think about like how far, how, I don't know, it's like how much it, not only just how much it means to you, but how much it's brought to you and how much it brings to your life. And if you stop or if you take a break, you have to start again. So even if you can keep things up a little bit here and there, like, isn't that worth it to keep going with everything that you cared about and everything that you built up and everything that you created? Like, do you need to throw it all out right now just because you're having a little bit of self-doubt? Like that voice can, I think, just like with the muscle pain thing, learning how to deal with muscle pain and flexibility pain. I just learned to deal with that pain of that voice. It's just like, I don't know, it just lives with you. Just let it live with you. I don't know. It can come along. Like I'm the one making the decisions. So it can just live there. And whatever it needs to say, it can say.
But it's good that you're able to like talk back to it and be able to reason with that voice.
I guess I don't even know if we talk back as much as like just let it talk and just don't.
Does
Yeah, just like, yeah, I mean, that is what I feel like one of the things that is very helpful is just to say to myself, like, this is what it feels like to be doing something difficult. Like,
it
this
sounds like
is
you just yoga the voice. You just
yeah,
yoga the voice.
right. Like, if you think about stretching, stretching hurts. Getting stronger hurts. Your muscles burn. When you're stretching, your muscles hurt. And when you're working on something hard, your brain hurts, like your heart hurts. Like, it's just one of those things that is the feeling of working on something new and difficult.
I like that. So we've talked a lot about like the deep things, and I have some really like just curiosity, fun questions that I've
Yeah.
always just been wanting to know about you. Um, so I guess we'll start with like, what's your favorite method of ballet? So I know you teach Cicchetti, but like, do you prefer like Balanchine or RAD?
You know, it's interesting. I would say my what I teach is has morphed away. You know, my first teacher was Cicchetti style and trained, and that was the bulk of my early training. But it's really morphed. It's really morphed quite a bit over the years. And one of the great things about having had so much of my training in New York is that you get to try everything. Like there's every style under the sun, right? There's every style under the sun. And I think the most interesting thing is that they all think they're right, and they are all right. They are all correct in their method, right? Like even it comes down to how to stand, right? The balancing people, they put no weight on the heel. The heel has no weight. It's like you could slip a piece of rice paper under the heel. You're completely shifted over to the toes. And then you've got the kind of a people where there's like weight in the heel, and you could almost there's not like you're almost could pick up the toes. Like you're so heavy on the heel. Your leg is almost entirely perpendicular to the ground. When you do tendu from first position, your hips don't change, and such a different thing. And it's funny when you have the benefit of training from different people in different styles, like they're not even sometimes even aware that the other style exists. So you come in doing your way and they look at you like you're from another planet, and you're like, that's how my other teacher taught me, and they're just like, that's not a thing, you know, like as if it's like blasphemy, right? So I find that to be the funniest thing about the styles is that there's so much like almost religion around the styles, where really I feel like it is so beneficial for adults to try and experiment and see what the difference is, because everyone's body and everyone's anatomy is a little bit different for the different styles and with what works differently. So thinking about the different styles, the Grownup is all about the long lines, the épaulement, the artistry, the length of everything. But if you are training in a balancing method where your weight is all the way over on your toes, your lines are actually going to look pretty short because you're actually pulling your working leg in very close to your legs. Balancing's not known for long lines. They're known for quick footwork because you're way up on your toes, you're ready to move at a moment's notice. And so if you want speed, that's the method you should be training in, right? But if you want the really long lines, then that's probably not going to give you the length and the look that you're going for in your particular movement, right? Then the RAD is a bit more like straight and very regal presentation of the upper body, a little bit more intricate movements, not so big and sweeping like you might get in Vaganova. So I think it's like you got to learn about the different styles. You don't have to. I mean, you don't have to. There's kind of like wherever you are, where your teachers, they're teaching their way. But I think it's just so helpful to see the other styles and just see that like there are more ways to be successful than one. If you're having trouble with turnout in this particular style, and your hips might do better, place more on the heel. Like for me, I have a lot better turnout when I'm in with my weight on my heels, and it's shifted that way over the course of my training. I trained a lot of balancing in New York City with the weight on the balls of the feet, and struggled a lot with turnout in that period of time. Just with the hyperextension, it can be more difficult to turn out when your weight is so far onto the ball of the foot. So my style has moved a lot more Vaganova, especially with that teacher, where I was never this successful in other styles. But just with my hips and how they're shaped, it's so much more possible and accessible in this particular way. But the most valuable thing was to see that there's more than one way to stand. There's more than one way. There's more than one opinion about this, because I think sometimes we get so in our head about how black and white things are, like that this is perfect and this is imperfect. And then you kind of see that ballet is actually like a spectrum. Like there's actually a spectrum of things that people of styles and of placements that people have, and it's like about it gives you more permission, I think, to experiment with what works with your body and how ballet is going to actually work for you anatomically.
A lot of the methods share the same terminology. So,
Yeah.
what are your favorite ballet steps or your least favorite ballet steps?
My favorite steps definitely depend on the context. Like if I'm working on technique, if I'm working on trying to improve my body and I'm trying to work on improving my posture, then I'm just like obsessed with tendu à la seconde. And I could stand in tendu à la seconde for 45 minutes and still be learning something about what to do. Still, like that is the place where I think the most discoveries happen is tendu à la seconde. Could be on flat, could be on demi point, could be on fondue, but à la seconde, even with the foot on the floor, I think is where the majority of your technical discoveries come from, is getting that position sorted out. When I'm doing something like artistic or beautiful, then my favorite steps will be very different. I love like a good, renversé. I love a good développé promenade to change pose, like from one corner to the other. Love a good piqué fouetté that can create a really big dramatic movement with a gorgeous pose that you stick and land. I love a good pirouette with the arms high, with the beautiful floating, almost like, through first and high. I love like a step over turn. I feel like they're so sweepy and beautiful and have such a gorgeous, they have such a gorgeous expression potential to them. So I love all those steps for some movement and everything in them. And then least favorite, pas de bourrée over is my least favorite. Pas de bourrée over is so ugly. If it, I just don't know why we have it. I get it that it's to reverse pas de bourrée under, and I use it in my classes because it's technically, for reversing things. But I think in general, it's just like, no, I don't like it.
You talked about turns, but which do you prefer, jumps or turns?
I think jumps are more fun. I think jumps are very fun and like they move so fast and especially petit allegro, it's so fun. It's such a brain puzzle and it really forces you to be so in the moment. Like I love jumps for that reason. They're so fun. I think I obsess more about turns than I think I practice turns more than jumps just because they're so hard. Like I said, I've always had like balance trouble and I'm very tall. So it's like also tough to turn. And I've just always been obsessed with why I can't turn. I'm like, turn. I want to be able to turn, just because I can't do it. So I've always been obsessed with practicing turns. But as far as like what's more fun to do, like jumps, fly a good soda shot across the floor, like nothing beats that. It's just like so fun.
I think we're the opposite.
Really? Tell me.
I think I just think turns look so beautiful and they are so hard and I'm working so hard on them. I also have I just get so dizzy. I
Yes.
think it's just after pregnancy, I just cannot. The vertigo is so bad.
Yeah.
I can't do I did a merry-go-round after I had my son, and even 6 years later, I'm like, no, no merry-go-rounds for me. And
No.
that's just that's what turn is. It's like a merry-go-round.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. Definitely. I mean, definitely like chaînés across the floor, piqué turns across the floor. No way. No
Oh yeah,
way.
so fun.
Like I went to a class, a drop-in class here in Orlando, and we did emboutees, turning emboutees across the floor. And I sat it out. I was like, I'm not doing that. Like that is so, I'll be like throwing up the whole day. I'm all set with
And
emboutees across the floor.
almost like a shenny with pickups, right?
Yeah, yeah. But also the jumping version. So you're doing like switching coupe, coupe, coupe,
Oh,
jumping, doing a half turn each
oh,
time, but
oh.
jump to coupe, half turn, half turn, half turn. But it's basically like chaîné turns, but the
Oh, yeah.
jumping version.
That's leading into the next question I have for you, like this or that. Would you prefer Allegro or Adagio?
I love Adagio because you really have the time to enjoy both the technique and the artistry. I feel like when you get to the jumps, it's like so fast, you can really only focus on a little bit. Yeah, it's like drinking out of a fire hose, which is fun and therapeutic in its own way. But like as far as really enjoying like the juicy details and everything, I love Adagio because you can really micromanage the details. You can work on the lines. You can really shape your the poses that you're creating. And I think that's really fun and satisfying.
I agree with you on that one. I like Adagio too. Because you have the time, I think because I have the time, whereas it is literally like drinking out of a fire hose when you do Allegro.
Yeah,
That's
totally.
exactly what. So then what would you choose to do, bar or center? Which one do you prefer?
I love the bar. I love the bar. I mean, center's cool and everything, and I love dancing, but I love the bar for sure. I feel like you get a better workout at the bar. Like you can really work your muscles more deeply because you have the bar to hold on to. And
Mhm.
if I only had 30 minutes, I would do pliés, tendus, and ronds de jambes at the bar, not in the center.
That's good to know. And then flat shoes or point shoes?
Ooh, that's a tough question. I think point shoes are, they're so pretty. They're so pretty. And I love the lines you can create with point shoes. And I love that they give you more dynamic range that you could do things like, from low to high, like you could go from plie to releve. It gives you like a bigger visual boost than just to demi point. But I feel that I can be more expressive and more dynamic and more strong in my flat shoes. So as far as like the feeling of the dance, I like the feeling of my flat shoes better, but I like the look of my point shoes better, let's say.
Yeah, it definitely has that crazy aesthetic. I
Oh
understand
yeah.
what you're saying. So pretty. And it's just like quintessential ballet when you see
Oh
those
yeah.
shoes. So, what are your favorite ballet flats to wear?
My favorite style ballet flats. Obviously, there's the Grishko Nicolay split, right? So they used to be Grishko Mod 6, MOD, like mod, like modification or module 6. Grishko Mod 6. Now they're called Nicolay Tempo. And they're so pretty. They last for like 5 seconds, but when you are wearing them, they're so pretty because they have a little ruched elastic under your arch. And so the shoe just like sucks up underneath your foot because this elastic makes the bottom really tight when you point. And so they just really accentuate the line of your feet. And they're so pretty because they have no bagginess under the foot, where sometimes your shoes are baggy under your arch and they don't look so good when you point your feet. They just get bunched up under there. And those shoes are like perfect. They're so, so, so pretty.
I know you talked about this in your point shoe video, but what's your favorite point shoe at the moment?
I'm currently wearing the Suffolk Solo, and I think those are still my favorite. I've been wearing the actable 3D printed ones. Those are useful, but they're not my favorite because they're not as pretty.
So leaning to the fashion style, because I'm always curious about these things too, because you have such great style in your videos. I love the pattern on pattern of your leotards and skirts, and it's so colorful and fun. Do you have like a power outfit? This is what my daughter calls them. She calls it her power leotard. It's a leotard she wears when she wants to feel like extra confident and like her dancing is better in it,
Mm.
is what she.
Oh, that's so cute. I love that she's got a power outfit. Um, I think my power outfit, I would say that for me, I dress to augment or modify my mood. So if depending on my mood, whatever outfit is like going to magnify that, or like I said, if I feel like I want to change my mood, like I want to be in a different mood, then my outfit will be towards that. So if I'm feeling like really like artistic, like I really want a really beautiful flowy adagio class, then I'll wear like this motion wear leotard that's a long sleeve black leotard with like mesh heart lace on the back that's like got a little triangle cut out on the lower back and this beautiful mesh heart lace pattern on the top back. I love that leotard. I think the long sleeves like just really make your arms look so pretty. Like the black long sleeve, I feel like looks so pretty and just like really accentuates the line of the arms. And I love that. Like I love that leotard a lot. I mean, black is not my favorite color. I don't like black. I don't like black very much. But as far as like making your arms look longer, making you feel more artistic, I love that. I love that particular leotard for other qualities than the fact that it's black. And I'll usually pair it with like a bright skirt or something because like yeah, that all black is not my vibe. Yeah, what else would I wear? If I wanted to be like a little bit more like peppy, I've got like a blue halter leotard that I love and it always makes me feel like really cute and like stylish, and I can pair it with like a really fun skirt, like really fun color, because that blue color is so vibrant that you can wear it with a lot of different color skirts, and that's really fun because you can like pick out a skirt to boost it. So I love those two. Then I love a good hot pink leotard and my purple leotard with the little stripe, the block leotard with the vertical stripes and the mesh. I love that leotard. Yeah, that one's great.
You have a lot of power leotards. It's so nice.
Yeah, maybe it's just like ballet is a good like a place to feel good. You can easily find a good power outfit that makes you feel good and kind of boost that.
Oh, yeah. I also think they're probably more comfortable than street clothes at this point.
Right. Yeah, I agree.
They're just so stretchy. And like I could do whatever I want. It's fine.
Right. And they have great colors and great styles, and you can look like more sophisticated or more fancy than would be appropriate like at the grocery store. So I feel like in ballet class, I really appreciate about ballet class that you can be a little bit more dressy than other places might allow for. I mean, I know you can wear whatever you want to wherever you want, but like sometimes you're at the grocery store, like you don't need to, you're not like wearing some crazy clothes or like some crazy fancy thing there. You might get dirty or whatever's going on. But in ballet class, I feel for me, ballet class is a great place where you can Yeah, be a little bit fancier and like dress a little bit nicer, and that can be really fun.
An experiment and like
Yeah, just like play.
speaking of fancy, would you choose a pancake tutu or romantic tutu?
Oh, man, you coming in with the tough questions.
Tutu is the hard one.
I know that's a hard one because they both are so pretty. Like I love a pancake tutu. Like the first time I had a pancake tutu, I like just about died. It was like the most, magical thing. Whereas I feel like a romantic tutu, I think a romantic tutu is like more beautiful in many ways to dance with. Like it gives you that ethereal floating quality because you can't see how the knees are moving and it just looks like you're kind of floating across the stage. Like especially borets in a long romantic skirt. Oh my gosh, it's so pretty, right? But it doesn't have like as unique of a silhouette as a pancake tutu. So I feel like there's something inordinately more special about having a pancake tutu and point shoes than having like a romantic tutu and point shoes. Although, like I said, I do think that a romantic tutu can be so much more beautiful because the fabric is moving and it creates all this beauty with it. So as far as movement goes, I feel like, yeah, maybe the romantic tutu, but for a picture, I think the pancake, the pancake.
It does make a nice silhouette if you ever do like the silhouette shots.
Yeah, totally.
What are your ballet must-haves? Like you talked about like different style and fashion, but what do you need? For example, I love my massage balls. I need those things.
Right.
It's the only way my body feels like relaxed is when I use those massage balls.
Yeah, that's a great question. I have like a little dance buddy massage gun, which is great because it's really compact, really small. And I've tried a couple massage guns, but they're too heavy and your arm gets tired before you really have massaged enough. But the dance buddy I love because it's really small, really compact, and you can just like get in there really easily and do that. I also have like a stretchy sort of like exercise band that I'm always using to try to stretch my chest and open my shoulders. Yeah, I do like drink a lot of water and a lot of electrolytes. For me, electrolytes, creatine, and water are like a must. If I don't have those, I'll be so thirsty in class. I'm that one who's always guzzling the water in ballet class, like always, always, always. So I have to always have water with me in ballet class for sure.
I understand that, especially because you're always working so hard in ballet.
Oh yeah,
I definitely drink a lot of water during class.
so much.
I have like two more questions I really want to know. What is your favorite pose for photos?
Oh, favorite pose for photos. Okay, that's a good one. I love a la seconde, like a really good fierce a la seconde, like just above 90-degree kick shot. I think that that's a great pose. It makes your legs look super long and is a little bit more forgiving than like an arabesque pose, which can sometimes be really like I think first arabesque is one of the hardest poses to get just right on camera because the way the camera foreshortens everything and you've got all these limbs, you've got one arm like out to the front in the first arabesque and the camera's always shortening that arm and it's like really tough to get those angles just right in the first arabesque. But I feel like the a la seconde, you're straight onto the camera, all the limbs are on an even playing field and you can get a really, really good shot in the a la seconde. Same with the passe, like a straight front passe with like a lean, you can get a great, great angle on that shot. I also love a good fourth position, especially if you're in point shoes. Fourth position is a nice one because your body is looking very dynamic and it's not too nothing is really too foreshortened. It's kind of all in one even playing field. So you don't have to deal with, yeah, like one limb getting closer to the camera, then it disappears and it's super weird.
It's like a completely different world to pose, it sounds like.
Oh yeah, it's a completely different world. I spend a lot of time like studying myself on video to see and understand which things look a certain way. I mean, I direct the photo shoots at the festival, and so obviously I need to be very well versed in what looks good and what doesn't look good. So I spend a lot of time just like taking video and like trying different angles and seeing what looks good and what looks the longest and what looks the shortest and what type of poses look good and just studying the angles and the lines. And yeah, it's like a picture is nothing like your ballet class. Like it's nothing like what your ballet class is. You have to tweak it so much to get the camera to like look correct. It's a very different art form than a moving picture or a regular movement in class. It's really quite interesting.
I look forward to the photo shoot at the festival. I'm excited.
Yeah, you'll be sweating. People think they're very short, and then by the end of 15 minutes, they're like completely drenched in sweat.
This question is, I've always just wondered this because Broche ballet, Broche, Broche means brooch, Brooch in French. Have you ever considered making a brooch brooch?
I have many times have gotten closer and closer to getting a brooch made. Many people don't know what the logo is, but the logo is actually just like a brooch, like that it is one. So I think that would be the
Yeah.
first one to create. But I get every once in a while I get a bee in my bonnet and get closer and closer to to making that project come to life. So I think I'm sure one day, we'll get there. Yeah, I'm sure one day we'll get there. I think it'd be so fun to have a whole line and maybe even ones for like certain achievements or like for certain fun little, whatever. It could be like how we get merit badges and Girl Scouts and stuff like that. I feel like there's so many fun things that we could do with that. And yeah, yeah, it'd be really fun.
That sounds so much fun. I'm like, yes, sign me up.
Yeah, it would be so fun.
Yeah, because I remember seeing the logo. I'm like, this looks like a brooch.
Yes.
And it makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, wow. So you got it. You got it. A lot of people think it's like a
Yeah.
butterfly or like don't know what it is, but it's,
There's
yeah.
like a little pearl in the
Yeah.
middle.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I love it.
I'm like curious to see what it will look like in 3D. Like, I think that'd be really cool
Right? Wouldn't
to
it
see
be
like
so cool? I feel
how you
like,
would design it. And
yeah, I've always, it's like, would it be metallic or would it be the blues? But it definitely needs to have a pearl. Like, I sold the Broche logo tees for a little while and I've glued a pearl onto mine, like a half pearl onto mine so that it like looks like the, like, so that it looks like the pin. Um, but I love sparkly things and gems and pearls and all of, all of this.
oh yeah. And I wondered if you would do like spacing in between the different parts of the logo. Like, would you do cutouts? Like, that's another thing.
Right. Right. Would it be cutouts? Would it be metallic? Would it be color? Would there be like gems
I
involved?
heard.
Yeah, layered. Right. Right.
Yeah.
These are all the questions as it comes to
Yeah,
life.
these are some of the questions I have too. Just thinking about it. So I can imagine you only have so many more questions.
Right. It's got to be like just right, but not too heavy because if you wear it on your leotard, you don't want it to fall. So it has to be like pretty light, pretty lightweight. Have the pin ideally vertical so that it sits a little bit easier than a horizontal pin.
Yeah, droops. You don't want to
Yeah.
droop.
But even, I mean, the original design of the logo does have a black line through the hole because it's like supposed to look like there's a pin like back there. So it would not be true to form of the initial logo that I created. It would be a vertical. I think it would be a vertical because it sits a little bit better. So that'd be a little off brand.
Thank you so much for having me, letting me ask all my curious questions. I know I have plenty more. I really appreciate you taking the time to answer all mine, especially like the random ones and also the really deep ones that have been stirring in my mind as well about my own journey and maybe in the minds of some of our listeners. So we really appreciate you. I really appreciate you. And I just want to say thank you so much for all you do. Like you truly have changed my life. And I know you've changed a lot of lives out there as well.
Thank you so much for taking the time to be here. And I'm glad you asked a lot of questions. I think something I say to people a lot is that technique is almost entirely learned inside your brain. Your body is only a reflection of the thoughts that you think. So the more questions you have, the more you study it in your brain, the more your body is just going to continue reflecting that. So it's all such a cerebral activity. So keep asking questions, keep exploring. I love the curiosity. It's what makes, yeah, it's the fun stuff of life is the curiosity. So thanks so much, Samantha, for being on here, for bringing continual curiosity and passion to everything. I really appreciate it. And I'm excited to see how far you'll go in your ballet journey.